It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
I don't want to lose. I want to win!
I need professional help.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sports Betting Weekly, sponsored by EasySportsData.com. The books use data, shouldn't you too? And this is easy sports data, like the preschoolers use. EasySportsData.com.
I win here and I win there. Now what?
Sports Betting Weekly.
I want to win!
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
You should also check out SportsBettingLessons.com. You'll learn some old tricks because sometimes how you bet is more important than who you bet. SportsBettingLessons.com.
Let's just do it. Let's meet this thing head on. And you were in it to win it. Talk about an education.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Wow, winning.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome to Sports Betting Weekly. I'm second half Chaz, and as in most weeks, I am joined by some guys that have good names if you want information. We've got a consultant and we got an investor, but they are really going to just talk to us, and if you listen to them and you kind of make a mental note, listen, it's an hour. We talk about a lot of things. I always have a pen. Remember, I'm on the show, and I still go back and I watch the show, and I write down what these guys say because all they do is give us winners. So let's do this. Let's check in with John first because John made a comment regarding a football game that is currently being played. John from GMF Sports, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How you guys doing?
Awesome. Talk to me. What's happening with the game?
Yeah, so, as via the group chat before, I believe me and Black Hawk West were on the same wave here. So we're actually on this Marshall team total. I'm on them first half. I have two separate plays. I'm on them the over in both the 12.5 and the 10.5. So they're getting ready to drive here. They're first and goal. So looking like they're going to put some points up here on the board.
Well, that's good for you. And I actually have the over.
There we go.
I have the over in that game. Did not go with a team yet. Doesn't mean I won't. Probably if I was going to hop on Marshall, I would have hopped on them when they gave up that first touchdown. So I'm going to sit tight with my winners because, as you remember, this morning I woke up to a winner that I didn't have in my account when I went to bed last night because we had I started with the day before. Remember, you had Toronto, right?
Uh-huh.
An open parlay with two teams, and then I filled it with the CFL game from Wes. So now I'm at two bets and none of my handicapping. And then finally, I filled it with the Houston money run line -1.5 against the Angels last night. But then they blew a 3-0 lead. I think they blew, right? Then they came back and tied it up at 5. Now the home team in extra innings covering the run line is tough because one swing of the bat, you lose. You need to get that guy on base first. But now with the extra innings, they put a guy on second. If he hits a home run, you win it. But in the top of the inning, a whole different animal. We have seen 4, 5, 6, 7 run 10 and 11th innings this year in Major League Baseball. Well, I guess we got one because when I woke up this morning, my account balance was higher than it was when I went to bed, which is something that happens to me a lot hanging around with you guys. That's for damn sure. So did they score?
Yep. Timeout. They got a timeout on the field.
All right. So you're going to keep us abreast on that. Let's talk Black Hawk West. I actually have a list of things to do. I've got a funny contest story. After a while, we'll talk to you guys about your contests that you've got going, and then I'll talk about mine. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was your recap for the NFL for last week, Black Hawk West.
Yeah, as far as my plays go, we were 3-3. It was an even week. My circa plays were 3-2, but as far as the members' picks, we were 3-3. We were right on even. So there is a lot of top pickers in the world right now that are right around 500. So if you're 5-0 or 4-1 even, hold on to those gains because you're seeing something that some of the best guys in the world are not seeing, and it's going to turn. I mean, there might be some luck in there too, but these NFL lines are not moving the way that they normally do in response to some overreaction type situation games. So first couple of weeks have been a little bit more challenging. Not as much for John, but they have been.
Well, John, you know what? Did you really do much college last week?
Not that much. No, I kind of laid off the college there a little bit. There was a couple games. Speaking of Marshall, I was actually on Marshall last week, and they had that terrible 17-point fourth quarter loss, and they wound up actually losing that game after being up 17 in the fourth quarter. But not so much college. The main focus was on NFL for Sunday. So,
all right. So let's look at tonight's game. Let's start with John. Now, John, you have GMF Sports Consultants. You're an excellent handicapper. Is this a game that you gave out to people?
Yeah, we're gonna play it. Not necessarily because I wanted to. It's just that the guys
pressure.
It's
peer pressure.
Nothing wrong with throwing a couple of dollars on it, but nothing crazy at all. So we're actually on the Carolina Panthers side. I'm not too crazy about the 8. But I like the fact that their defense is playing very well over the last 2 weeks.
Stat. You want a stat?
Go ahead. Hit me with it.
You want a stat?
Yeah.
I'll give you one. I'll give you a easy sports data NFL Week 3 stat. Houston beat Jacksonville last week, right? Yeah, and they covered. They covered in the first half.
The first half. Right,
in the 16 games before that, which is the whole NFL season, do you know what their against the spread record is in the first half? 2-14.
Wow.
2-14. So they beat Jacksonville, which I think we're going to hear a lot. I think that's going to be said a lot this year. We're going to hear they beat Jacksonville a lot this year. I really believe that. Even though I know, Wes, you were putting away little $2 bets on Jacksonville to win the Super Bowl since like June, weren't you?
Well, I was, because we've seen the worst to first win the Super Bowl before, and Urban Meyer is a turnaround kind of coach. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying if it was going to happen, a turnaround coach of that caliber, at least what he did at the college level, it would make sense. There's some value there. It's a $2 voluntary tax when I cash something else.
Yeah, that was you've hit a couple of those before in the past, so I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, 2-14 is why I hopped on them. I hopped them on for the game as well, but I hopped on them mostly for that first half with the 6.5, right? Is that, or was that it was a 6.5?
Should be 4.5.
4.5, right? 4.5. So yeah, so I saw that number, and understand when you're looking at 3 years of data and you see this just long ass line or column, it's a column of L's. It was L after L after L. It was hard to count them all. There was so many L's, but so those are the kind of things that'll jump out at me. And then what else do I have here? So what about live opportunities on this game? Because it's going to, by the time we're halfway through the show, this game's kicking off. Are you looking for anything, Wes? Now, we talked about it a couple weeks back. Remember, I had that Kentucky is given like 29 or 34 or something, and they're marching down the field, and the ball hits off the guy's chest, goes up in the air. The other team gets an interception, ends up scoring, and now the line drops to 20 for the game, and they win by this. They end up covering for the game. Do you see anything tonight where, Wes, where if something happens early, you're going to pay attention more than you might normally?
We're talking NFL?
Tonight's Monday night game, yes.
Yeah, so in that game, what's got me curious, because I is a quarterback that nobody has much film on for Houston. Houston, they came out and they beat Jacksonville, and I'm not saying that makes them anything worth writing home about, but they did show that they can score some points against an NFL team. So just like John, I don't have skin in the game. So my members that ask me about the game, I will give them my opinion on what I'll play, but I'll give them the disclaimer. Just know that I have not one penny of my own cash on it. But I actually like Houston in that game, just for the plain fact that they're getting a lot of points. They have a quarterback that has no tape to speak of. And, it's a Thursday night game, and odd things happen, and they're at home. And so that's the play that I recommend. I always look for line movements, any type of huge discount in the line on one side or another. And that's usually where I'll jump in. Any type of huge discount.
Well, yeah, if you know, I've been very fortunate in the last few years of picking big games exactly to score. And Monday night was like that. I had 20, it was 27. I had 26. I was off by 1 point at both teams with the right score, exact total. And tonight I have it at 27-14 is the final that I have tonight. And so it was right on the cusp of the number, right? The number's right in there, 42 and a half. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold off and watch and see if I can get that number down into the mid 37.5. 37.5 would work for me because 41 would be an under, and then we would cash an over bet. And that's always great when you could say, I hit the over last night. And the guy says, how the hell did you hit the over? I lost. I hit the over. Yeah, well, I hit it in live action. I got it at 37. What about you, John? You seeing anything ahead of time where you might be paying attention to for Monday Night Football? It is they're at Carolina, correct?
Yeah. So I'm gonna just kind of I'm on the Carolina side, so I'm gonna wait. You know, if Houston gets up early and I'm getting a better discount on Carolina, you know, for maybe a first half or even for the game, I'll probably, you know, maybe throw another quarter unit on that. But nothing crazy. You know, this is a Thursday game. To me, I kind of get this sense of the field, the same thing like Wes. Weird things happen, and everybody seems to be on Carolina tonight. So that just kind of gives me weird, spooky vibes, you know, whenever it's this way. But I just like the Carolina defense. I like the way they're playing, even though obviously Wes is correct about the limited tape. They're going against a third-string starter that doesn't really have much experience. Houston did play well, but they played well.
All right, so I think he froze up on us. So let's do this, Blackhawk West. Let us start talking right now about – or John, you're back? So we're going to keep John going. John, tell us about where you are in the Circa contest right now and where your head is about it.
Yeah, so far Circa, we're at 6-4, so that's, you know, 60%. And I'm just going to throw this out there. Kansas City accounts for 2 of my losses, so I'm not very happy with these Kansas City Chiefs.
However,
they're doing that to me. But
how many times recently have you heard me tell you that the record against the spread, and they keep it keeps getting worse. It's now 1-9.
It's not getting any better. It's getting worse. We talked a lot about this. If you go back and look at all the football shows we did last year, I think this was every week we talked about Kansas City not covering. And, of course, I fell for it week 1, and, of course, I fell for it week 2. Obviously, we all seen the Monday night game. You know, that was a tough break. So it is what it is. But anyway, I'm keeping my head in there. And, yeah, just waiting. You know, if I could reel off a couple 4-1 weeks or a 5-0 week coming up, I'll be sitting pretty. So,
60% winners is going to keep you close.
Exactly.
No doubt. Because the guys that are 10-0 now, and look at Ken, like from Picking Duck.
Yeah.
Those guys that are 10-0, it's hard to stay 10-0.
Yeah, it's hard to keep doing that over. We're now 18 weeks in football. So it'd be interesting to see. It all kind of falls back to earth. And
the other aspect of a team like Kansas City is no different than when Brady was at New England and probably with Tampa Bay as we speak as well. What do you think? It's 1.5, 2, 2.5, maybe? That's how many more points they give each week, right? Blackhawk West than they should. Because the people bet them.
Yeah, they do. And, you know, Tampa's one of those super teams where they probably get a point more than they should. Although I think that the line comes out in the right place. I think the public is causing it to have, you know, additional shifting in their favor. I mean, I look at Tampa.
Exactly.
I look at Tampa this week, and I think that they're in a very scary situation. That game's a total walk away for me. You look at Tampa, and they have the second to worst rushing attack in football, and they're at the same time their pass defense is towards the bottom as well, and they're going up against a very good defense. And, you know, Tampa's O-line is not very good. So I think they're in a rough spot flying across the country. That game's a total walk away for me this week. But they are one of those super teams, and they're going to lose somewhere. They're not going 17-0. We've seen it before. I've seen it once in my life. I've read about it the other time that it happened. So But yes, the public loves to put money on them. I was on the other side of that. And that was one of my circa plays. Was I had Atlanta last week because it was a divisional opponent, and they were getting 12.5 points. And there's just not a lot of NFL usually on the other side of that.
Yeah, I like the Rams. I told my son I like the Rams. I just like the Rams. And the line's moving in my direction. You know what? Because the Rams were favored when it opened, I think, if I remember correctly.
And the Rams have receiver talent all over the field with the quarterback that can get them the ball against Tampa, who's their pass defense, their rush defense is fantastic. Their pass defense, not so much. And they've given up points. They're averaging 27 points allowed this season.
All right, so let's do this. I'm going to tell my contest story, and then we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk CFL, because if you're watching tonight, or if you catch the recording of this tomorrow morning or tomorrow during the day, you're in good shape, because Saturdays in Canada has been moved to Thursdays on Sports Betting Weekly. All right, so here's my contest story. I go into my book. They're doing a contest, and it's showing I have I was 7-9 last week, picking every game. You know what? It was a bad week. The top consensus went 0-5. You know what? Again, just like John was saying, you're going to have some bad weeks. I'll take 7-9. You know, I saw some guys that did worse than 7-9. Then I look, and this one guy got 17 points. How the hell did he get 17 points? There's only 16 games. Well, after 2 weeks of picking, I realized I wasn't picking. It's the total and the side. I was only picking the side and putting in my picks without picking any of the totals. So I didn't do really well the first 2 weeks. But then I grabbed my Easy Sports data and I said something like, "You're mine, bitch," or something like that. I forget what I said. I said something that I felt bad. I looked around. Hopefully nobody heard me. But maybe I get Worldwide Sports Radio Network in trouble. But when we come back, that's what we're going to do. We're going to get some winners from West for CFL. We're going to talk about Saturday's college football. You're going to cash some tickets. Maybe I'll remember to change the banner, but the banner on the bottom is a good one, because if you go to sportsbettingweeklylive.com, you can always catch our oldest show. So technically, you could have 2 shows. You can watch this show tonight and go back and watch last week's show. And if you do, guess what you'll hear? You'll hear winners, because with the Belly Up Sports crew from the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network that we deal with the Sports Betting Channel people, we've got the Worldwide Sports Radio Network people. We really are making you some money. We'll be back.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Sports Betting Weekly.
You keep lying when you ought to be truthing. And you keep losing when you ought to not bet.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly. So I wanted to check in. What was the first half team total over that you guys had for Marshall?
It was 10.5.
Yeah, there's 10.5.
We were both.
Yeah, we're at 6
Yep,
right now.
and
Marshall got 2 field goals.
You're in good shape, right? Because it's 12.5 now live.
Oh, okay, there we go. Yes, kind of like back to the original line. So yeah, it's they're winding down the first quarter. They kicked 2 field goals. Obviously, 1 touchdown out of those would have been nice, but we're sitting good.
No, 3 scores in the first quarter. That means the offenses are moving the ball. The red zone is an issue, though. You know what? You got to get points in the red zone. No doubt about it. All right, so I changed the banner. I have a note on here that says rotate the banners to match the topics, but right now I've got the one where you can follow us on Twitter. You can play like the public, the Bitly Cash Tickets page. You can catch John on Instagram, and that is GMF_. And then sports_consultants. All right, so let's do this. Let's start with Blackhawk West. You gave us a winner Wednesday, and we've got 2 more games Friday. And while you're telling us about CFL, what you think in those 2 games, I'm going to grab my easy sheet for the CFL.
So the first game we got on Friday night is Montreal is going to Toronto. These 2 teams, I typically avoid them because they're capable of anything. A couple of weeks ago, the Owls hung 51 points. And that's a ton of points, even in the NFL. I mean, that's a lot of points. Fast forward to where we are right now, they did it on the Ottawa Red Blacks, and the three of us can probably go hang some points on the Ottawa Red Blacks. So these two teams I like to avoid, but looking at this pattern on the Argos, they do well at home. And so I'm just going back 5 weeks. They lost to Winnipeg, then came back and beat them. Then they lost to Hamilton, then they came back and beat them. And then they lost to Sask last week. And now they're coming back, and they're not playing Sask. They're playing Montreal. But following that pattern, they're at home laying 2.5. So I'm on the Argos laying the 2.5. I'm on the Argos laying the 2.5. Toronto.
Yeah, Montreal came back after Ottawa fluffed their feathers up, and they got beat by a team they were favored by. They scored 18 points.
Yeah. So the next game on Friday night is Sask and BC. And, I've talked a lot about Sask, and, they open real strong. And so I'm going to go all the way back to week 1. So Sask has only played on the road once this season, which is kind of odd because we're now in week 8. But Sask, they hung 30 points, 28, 30 points-ish in the first half in that first CFL game of the season against BC. And then BC came roaring back in the second half. They started the game with a rookie out of the University of Ohio, Nathan Rourke, who had never started a professional game before. And, they came roaring back, and the game ended up 33-29. Since then, the BC defense is allowing around 12 points per game average. So they're going against Sask, who has not been lighting up the world. And again, going back to the game they played against each other week 1, Lucky Whitehead was not fully adjusted to this new offense system in BC. And at this point, you could make a most outstanding player case for Lucky Whitehead. And so what Riley and Whitehead have going on with BC, if you watch all these shows, you probably would think that I'm a Sask fan. It's just a team that's been interesting to me this year, but I am actually on the BC side. BC at home, a little bit of a revenge game. They're not going to let Sask score this much early. And so I'm taking 2.5, and I'm taking BC.
Rico, we talked about, right? 6 straight games. The second half was them and the under. 6 straight games. They have given up 25 points in 6 games. Their record against the spread, first quarter 4-2, first half 4-2, 6-0 as I mentioned, overall 5-1. They are 19-5 against the spread if you're talking first quarter, first half, second half in game. Now, I have to ask you, if you went home, John, the wife said, "How'd you do?" You said, "I had a 19-5 day." Would she be expecting you to buy her something nice?
Yeah, she's been around me long enough to know that 19-5, that's really, 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 really good.
Yes, that is a good day. Now, we've all had them, but this team is having one right in front of our eyes. So that's the kind of stuff I look at. And you know what? Yeah, sure. Anything's possible. I mean, the football's the same, right? The field's a little different. The scoring's different. It's the same weird-shaped ball. Baseball's, if you roll a baseball towards me, it's probably going to get to me. You roll a basketball. Look what they do to start a basketball game, or when they don't want the clock to start. They roll it halfway, right? And the guard just kind of runs with it. You do it at football, that ball can go anywhere. So that's the thing. It's still called gambling for a reason, guys. It really is. All right, so talk to us about Saturday. Since we're not doing a lot of Canadian football on Saturday, Blackhawk West, talk to us about some college football on Saturday.
Yeah, so the one I'm going to throw out there for Saturday, and I'm on it a couple different ways. If you watch these games week to week, what happened last week can give us a gift this week. And so I'm looking at Clemson, and they're playing NC State. It's at 2:30 Central kickoff, and Clemson was in a lightning delay game. And it's no secret their quarterback, DJ Aguilar-Lale, I'm trying to pronounce that the right way, Aguilar-Lale. DJ's not Trevor Lawrence. Nobody's Trevor Lawrence. I mean, you're talking about one of the greatest college quarterbacks we've ever seen. So they're not really scoring a ton of points. Dabo Swinney knows that they need to score points. He knows that they need to look good doing it. They got a loss on their record, and they can win the ACC, and if they look good enough, they'll find their way into the playoffs. Clemson is laying 10 points. I love Clemson laying 10 points in this game. And the gift that I feel that we're getting on this game, because they have not been scoring a ton of points this season, the gift is the 28.5 team total. And it's at even money or minus 105 right now, depending on where you find it. We've seen Clemson hang 40 in the first half. So I'm on Clemson both of those ways. There's going to be a point where this team hits the gas and kicks it into high gear, and why not this Saturday to pay us?
Well, you know what? I like a play in that game as well, and it fits right in what you're saying. I like the other team's team total under. It was one of my plays where I said if Georgia only scored 10 points on this team, how is North Carolina State going to punch anything in the end zone? So I'm right there with you.
It
It's the internet. It's what it is. It's the internet. All right, John, let's go to John.
Yeah.
John, we've got Sunday. Now, well, first of all, I don't want to just blow off Saturday. Are you looking at anything? But I know that, you kind of, I think you play Saturday by Saturday, don't you?
Yeah, I play Saturday by Saturday. I haven't even really looked at NFL. I already looked ahead, just because I'm more focused on NFL compared to college. So I'm already looking ahead to NFL Sunday. Nothing right now for Saturday. I'll kind of start looking over later tonight and tomorrow for Saturday.
Yeah, and that's what I thought. I didn't want to assume anything. I didn't want to make an ass out of you or me. But, yeah, that's kind of how it works. So let's say we lost Black Hawk West for a little bit, but when we get back, we'll be talking to Black Hawk West. So let's talk about Sunday. There's some good games, and while you start talking, I'm going to grab my NFL easy sheet.
There you go. I like it. Well, one of the games that I was looking at is actually I'm going to go back to the well with the Denver Broncos. Teddy Bridgewater has a phenomenal against the spread record when he's a starter. They're playing in Denver, and they're playing against the Jets. I mean, let's make that real easy, and I'll say it again. They're playing against the Jets. It's 11 points, so it's high, but I think Denver's more than capable than putting that up. Normally, anything over double digits, it always gets tricky, but I feel comfortable laying that number in Denver. And then, as a lot of people know, last week I was heavy on the Raiders. That was one of my big underdog straight out winners that I gave out actually live on this show last week. If you caught the show last week, you caught 2 winners from me. This week, believe it or not, I'm actually going against them. I like Miami. I know they don't have Tua, and I know that they have, quarterback is out. But that line just screams trouble for me. So I'm actually going to go the other way against them this week.
Yeah, so you know what? In the Jets, when you look at the Jets, all you see is red. and remember, there's 4 colors. There's four colors. And this is the whole preschool thing. Listen, there's 4 colors. It's letters, numbers. It's colors, letters, and numbers. And there's only 4 colors. You don't even have to know turquoise. You got to know red and green, blue and yellow. So if you can't win with this easy sports data where we take every single piece of data from every single team for every single game, and we take 32 pages of data and put it into 2 sheets of paper that you could look at on your phone because it's colors, you really shouldn't come pissing and moaning to me if you can't win, because I win every week with it. You need to call the school where you went to preschool. Maybe your preschool teacher's still around. That's the one you need to bring your issues up. You got any grievances, take it to your preschool teacher because it's handicapping preschool style. And with the Jets, all you see is red. Losers. I mean, you put the L over your head. And I feel bad for him because I really feel good for Darnold. That's who I feel good for. I feel we're going to see him tonight, right?
Yeah, he's playing tonight. And what a difference a change of scenery makes. The guy goes from the Jets, and now he's 2-0 with the Carolina Panthers. Who would have thought that? Right? Yeah, so, yeah.
All right, let's get to Black Hawk West and a couple Sunday picks.
So I'm looking at the Colts and Titans, and the line I'm seeing is 5. And I think that this is a perfect example of what last week can show us and give us as far as a gift. The Titans, they had a late field goal. They went into overtime in Seattle. and they ended up winning the game. I was on them then, but I'm going to go back to this one, and I like the Colts. The Colts are banged up at quarterback. It's looking like Jacob Eason is going to end up being their starter. But the Colts, let's not forget, last year at this point in the season, they were one of the top teams as far as forcing turnovers, and they're getting 5 points going to Tennessee. 5 is a big line. The Colts have a great O-line. They can run the ball well. This game will probably be a low-scoring affair, but I like getting the 5 points with Tennessee coming off a very emotional overtime victory, traveling cross-country back home to play a pretty angry Colts team. So I'm on that one for sure.
I have no problem with the side because of what you said, but just so you know, it's all blue from the first half, second half blue. 8 of 10. Tennessee's been over, and first half it's 8 of 9 on the road. No, at home. Colts are 8 of 9. So I got two teams that in their last 18 games, either road or away, are 16 and 2 over.
Yeah,
and I think part of it is because they're giving up points. If you look right, Tennessee, we knew they had an overtrend going into Seattle because that was one of the. On Saturday's show with Mo, that was one of the games where something's got to give with Mo from the Mo radio show when you got Seattle has all unders and Tennessee has all overs. Well, in hindsight, it was an easy winner and made you a lot of money because they were a road dog.
Yeah, and Tennessee later on in the season, like once we hit November, even deep October, that's a hard team to bet against. It's cold outside. There's travel. They're worn down.
Running back. Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, it's just another Alabama product. So
Tennessee, and why would you want to tackle that guy? If you're not a linebacker or a lineman, why would you want to tackle that guy? Because that shoulder surgery, you might just schedule it before the game for Tuesday of next week. I'm going to tackle Derrick Henry, so let me call the doctor so I can get in Tuesday. And get my shoulder fixed.
Yeah.
What more game did you say?
Yeah. So the other game, I'm with John on this play. I'm taking the points. I'm probably going to nibble on my situation without Tua. I'm not saying Tua's a bad quarterback. I'm saying he hasn't developed to a place where he can be productive in the NFL. You got Jacoby Brissett coming in. This is a man who was stepped over in the Indianapolis situation. He should have been next up when Andrew Luck retired, and then they just kind of searched around and found the next quarterback. And Jacoby Brissett is a mobile quarterback. He is a big-bodied quarterback, and that could really give the Raiders D-line some trouble. The Raiders are very good early in the season. 6-2, 5-2, 4-1, whatever you want, whatever year you want to go back and look at. But I'm with John 100%. I love Miami in this spot, traveling. And they're going to be better off with Jacoby Brissett. And when Tua comes back, I think they're going to find a little bit of quarterback controversy, possibly even replacing Tua next year.
Yeah, the Raiders give up points. That's one thing they do. The thing is, with that quarterback, they can outscore teams sometimes. And, of course, they haven't done that in the last couple of years, right? They haven't really won a lot of games because they were getting outscored. You can't give up. They give it up 26 points at home. Over 26 points in 7 of 8 games. You can't do that.
Yeah, and I wanted to just give a quick update. Marshall has officially cashed. They've scored 13 points, so 12 and a half, 10 and a half. We are cashed.
Good job.
Done deal.
Do you have it for the game as well?
Minutes left, so we cashed in about 18 minutes of football time.
Yeah. Do you have the game as well?
The game, I'm over 24 and a half.
All right, good shape there too. There too. All right. So what about the NFL game? Has it kicked off?
I have not checked that. I was waiting. I was waiting to cash my Marshall winner. Now I'm gonna Marshall for the night. Now I'm gonna head over to Carolina and see if Carolina can get us some winners. Right?
Yeah. So here's what we have: Carolina punted, 3 and out. Houston 3 and out. Carolina has the ball. And they got the first down of the game, but it's still early. And we'll see what happens. Remember, though, I've got to be paying attention because I'm trying to get that down to 37 on that total. And in live action, it's not looking like it's populating fully here. So we'll see where we're at. Okay, so we're in pretty good shape. We already cashed tickets. We got action on the game that's in the first quarter. We're going to do any more live action on this game, or you're just sitting tight with the college game?
Yeah, me personally, I'm done. I got my cash with Marshall. I'm done with them for the night. I'll be keeping an eye on Carolina. Looking maybe for some in-game for them. But right now, I'm sitting pretty, just keeping my bets as it is right now.
Nothing better than cashing tickets. You're listening to the Sports Betting Weekly on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, the Sports Betting Channel, the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, and we'll be right back.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
At championshipfootballs.com, they offer a 100% money-back guarantee on every single souvenir football that they sell. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. There's nothing worse than trying to find the right gift for somebody that already has everything. Whether that special present is for a New England Patriots fan or an Ohio State Buckeyes backer. Maybe Grams is a lifelong New York Giants supporter. Or your brother-in-law is a 12th man living in Seattle. Know a member of the Michigan State Alumni Association? Is there a better Father's Day gift for someone who's a Baltimore Ravens fan? Send them the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, if your favorite pro team is the Buffalo Bills or those Minnesota Vikings, well, they're sorry about that. Also, if you're a New Mexico State Aggies or Tulane Green Wave alumnus, not much they can do. After all, the name isn't nice effort, you had a pretty good season, footballs.com. The name is championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
Hey, this is an important message. I'm Second Half Chaz from Sports Betting Weekly. Sports betting is supposed to be a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. If you're hurting yourself by gambling with money you don't have, check out our website for the Gamblers Anonymous phone number.
When Vince Young scored on 4th and 5 in the 2006 Rose Bowl, two things happened. The Texas Longhorns won the NCAA title, and ChampionshipFootballs.com was born. From Texas to Alabama to Ohio State, and now for Super Bowl winners too. ChampionshipFootballs.com is the place for the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, 10 years later, ChampionshipFootballs.com has the autographs too. See if any of these names remind you of a special time in your football life. Michael Bennett, Lou Holtz, Joe Montana, Devin Smith, Jameis Winston, Rocky Blyer, Rocket Ishmael, Ara Parsegian, Mike Stonebreaker, Chris Zorich, Luther Bradley, Todd Light, Tony Rice, Lawrence Taylor, Dave Casper, Marcus Mariota, Rudy Rudiger, David Tyree. Enter the promo code RADIO and you'll instantly save $50 on any of the ChampionshipFootballs.com autographed footballs. ChampionshipFootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Chicken dinner.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly. Let me do this. Let me change our banners and get this one going. And you can check out what the guys are betting this weekend. And really, it was so cool, and I want to thank you both. I know I've given you a few winners in my time, but it was really, really cool. Looks like Carolina scored there. I just got an update. Wow, look at that. My book, and it's always funny because I've said this before. The book is such the place to go. Like ESPN and MajorLeagueBaseball.com will have to be determined on the pitcher, right, for a game. My bucket already has it in there with a number next to it. They're just so ahead of the curve, sports books. But so let's see what we got here. We have a touchdown, Carolina. That's always good. Probably not going to help my underplay, but or my over 37.5. But I'm going to just pay. I got nothing to do tonight but to edit videos and talk to people on in front of a camera. So I'm going to enjoy it. All right. So where are we at? Let's see what we have done. We talked on some Canadian football. We got some plays there, right? So we got a CFL from Wes. We got a NFL from John and Wes. Anything else, Wes, from you?
You know, I jumped back in to this Marshall because it's now 17.5 for the first half over. And I don't like the game total. It's an inflated number compared to what it was at kickoff. We were in it at 24.5, but I'm now 17.5 over Marshall. And I went back in for half of the profit of this first half cash. So we're guaranteed to be a winner. I'm not going back in for the full profit, but I went back in for half of it because, we're about to see another score. And Marshall's going to get the ball back with right around 7.5 minutes to go, and that's enough time for them.
Yeah, and technically, the way these teams could, if these teams do what they're supposed to do, and the reason I bet the over, you could get 2 field goals from Marshall. You really could if you think about it. I don't know what their kicker's like, but I'm talking about you got plenty of time. All right, so what else do we have going here? I probably should. What I'll do is I'll just give a little teaser. So if you haven't gone to Belly Up Fantasy yet, you can go to the Bitly link, Win More Bets Now, that's on the social media page. But I'm going to go and I'm going to look at I'll look at the Monday night game, which is an NFC East matchup, which means it'll be like a Christian at Halloween. Blackhawk West will have nothing to do with it. But what I see there is a game where you got to really look at how you're betting that game, because it's a Monday night game. It's the NFC East, and those teams, they just play 3 points. They play 3-point games, it seems like, and it's 3.5. So that's a tough way to go. I had Philly on the money line last week against San Francisco at home. You know what I'm looking at in the first half on the road? They've lost 11 of 13. That's a lot of losing. On the road for the game, that's overall. So Philly's overall 11 to 13 they've lost. So they're 2-11 against the spread. For the game, they won last week at I think. Oh no, on the road. They're on the road because they were home last week. On the road, they won the last half, but before that, they lost 7 or 8. I don't know. I look at a game like that and I say, I have people that are making that their best bet. They're making this game. Someone on there, and who's probably selling picks, is making this their 5-star play of the week, and I just don't see it. I don't see it. So, here's what I'm going to look at next. We're going to look at let's get back into the live action. So we've got a score here in the Carolina game, and it looks like Appalachian State is in the red zone as well. So Appalachian State is trying to score, and the line on that has been shut off because they're in the red zone. Let's go back to the Carolina game, and it hasn't opened for me yet. So let me ask you too, do you notice different attitudes with live action and the ability to get the plays in because it's not locked on the different websites that you work with? John, let's start with you.
Yeah, different websites. They'll offer obviously different options all across the board. And I compare what I have here in Vegas, your local books, to the offshore, and offshore has more. I honestly think that the local Vegas markets here are quick to kind of tend to shut these lines out, in any big substantial move or anything like that, and also limits. But, once again, that's the house advantage. They can do that, so. But, yeah, I noticed that there are some books, some of the smaller ones that kind of get very strict with your in-game and stuff like that. Definitely.
We talked about that on To Be Determined this week with soccer. You go into the Westgate, and the soccer offerings you have are minimal at best. You go on, any of your offshore books, and because soccer's so big offshore, oh my God, they offer hundreds and hundreds. Like we've said, in a live action on a sports book on soccer, there could be up to 440 something plays on a game. Yep, and in baseball and football, you'll see, actually, you'll see it here if I look. If I go to the football game for Marshall, there's 105 of them. There's 105 versus 400 and something. So yeah, it really is. It's house advantage, and I think part of it is since they don't know the market, they're very conservative. Now, part of that, John, is because they are governed by the Nevada Gaming Commission. For the longest time, they were the only guys in the game, and now every state's going to have a gambling commission. And states are going to say, yeah, you can take bets on the high school game. All right. They're going to have states are going to let you do everything. And then all of a sudden, Las Vegas is going to have to say, you know what? It's time for us to get out of dark ages. And the only way to do that is to get a less conservative gaming commission. Because remember, for how long you couldn't even bet the Olympics or the Oscars or any of that stuff, you know?
Yeah, you couldn't bet any of that stuff. Unfortunately, I don't really see any of that changing as long as we kind of have the monopoly here with Caesars/William Hill. They control the majority of the books on the strip. And these are big name corporations. We're talking billion-dollar corporations with that merger now. That's part of the reason why they won't let these DraftKings and FanDuels here in the state of Nevada, which I think is a travesty. You've heard me say it numerous times. They need to be in Nevada. But yeah, they got a stronghold on it, and it's unfortunate because it really restricts us. And it's a shame because I talk to people, I have clients in New Jersey, and these clients in New Jersey have offerings that I don't even have. These same game parlays where you could in-game prop bets and do all this crazy stuff. We can't do this here in Las Vegas. Yep. So it's a shame. It is a shame, honestly.
Well, it's the same thing here in California because of the Native American casinos and their monopoly on wagering for 20 years. They've been giving money to Sacramento for 20 years. I talked to somebody about it the other day. I said, here's the thing. If you gave me for 20 years money, I got your back. I got your back. So it's going to, they're looking to do something, and maybe, a couple of years down the road, I might be talking sports betting legally from a place here in San Diego, but it isn't happening anytime soon. But we do have an update in the college game. You want to give it to us, Blackhawk West?
Yeah, we are now 14-3. So if you are on either side, the math is perfectly set. If you laid your 7.5 on App State, the math is set.
You'll have to stop because I didn't have it on, but you said 14-3. That's what I heard.
I apologize. It's 14-13 App State over Marshall. So if you on either side, the math is perfect.
My 30 first half is looking good there, right?
Well, yes, and I feel like you're about to cash it, and that means I'm going to cash it. So we got about 7 minutes to go in the half, and I feel like we got another cash.
So you don't even need the extra point, neither do I. We just need 6.
This is a good kicker, though. I could get behind this Marshall kicker. Two field goals in one half. That's the best we've done on a field goal kicker.
Yeah, and they had trouble last week. Didn't they beat you guys last week?
They had he actually missed.
So he just returned a touchdown on the kickoff to cash for us. Marshall returned the kickoff touchdown.
No way.
We are Marshall.
If you're cashing tickets here on Thursday, then that's your issue. You got to deal with what you got to deal with. All right, so where are we at? I guess we got a few minutes left to talk about anything else that we got now. Blackhawk West. I'm really impressed by the Chicago Sports Option Discord page. I've done a little more research on Discord. There's some great information and some very smart guys on there, girls too, but it's very smart people on there.
Yeah, it's a lot of military retired and active.
You're gonna have. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, it's a lot of people from military retired and active, and it's just a group of people that support each other in investing. And whether you're into crypto, they just created a page dedicated to pot stocks and cannabis stocks and investments, and there's crypto, there's the live trading that everybody's doing, there's always option plays, and then of course there's the sports betting side, and everybody just wants to make the next guy smarter. We don't hold back, and for the different opinions, there's never been anybody fighting with one another in the entire year that it's a great group.
Yeah, and really, and that's what intelligent people understand, which we didn't see much of that in society in the last 2 years of intelligent people, All right, John, what about you? Got anything that's going through your brain?
No, nothing much. Just gearing up for NFL Sunday. Kind of already looking ahead. Be focusing on football, and we'll see how the play goes. Be looking forward to my Circa contest picks this weekend.
Yeah, so let's look at that. Okay, so you're going to wake up Friday morning. How close will you to have your picks? Will you have it narrowed down? Will you
Yeah, it'll be 75-80% for NFL Sunday. I'll have it narrowed down. I'm just waiting, make sure there's no last minute in this day and age, COVID issues, making sure none of the coaches are out. Just checking the news, checking the weather. Weather plays a factor. Even though right now it's kind of nice, but maybe later on in the year that's something you want to take a look at in the NFL. But pretty much late Friday, Saturday morning, I'll be all set going into Sunday.
So when you live in Vegas, you could just put them in online, right?
Correct. Yeah, correct. Everything, pretty much, majority of it's done right there on my phone. This
right.
phone.
But Blackhawk West is not Vegas, so he has to have you put him in for him?
Yeah. That's part of the proxy service that I offer that we do out there. You don't have to be
back to back.
Although
that was the kickoff return. They was delayed, Wes. I just saw it. Did you see how they did it? They faked a reverse on the kickoff. The cameraman went with the reverse guy that didn't have the ball. You never saw the touchdown until you saw the guy in the 20, and there was no one even near him. That was a beautiful way to win. Oh, God bless you, man. That was a beautiful way to win. All right, so before we get out of here, let me ask a update for the NFL from John from GMF Sports Consultants.
Still 7-0 Panthers. Panthers got the ball. 2 minutes left in the first quarter. They're on their side of the field still driving. They just started this possession, so we'll see how they do this possession.
Yeah, I've got, I went through to do the data, the easy sheet. I went through every single game. Blackhawk West, anything on college football tomorrow or on college football Friday night that's jumping out at you?
Yes, there is. I was taking a very hard look at the Fresno State UNLV game, and I'll tell you, it's for a lot of different reasons, but it was 30.5, and I think it's going to go to 31. I just, plain and simple, how deep do you have to go in naming teams in order to get to Fresno State? And yes, I'm comfortable laying 31 points there. So, I mean, you start there. But then I'm looking at UNLV. I'm not calling UNLV a great football team. I'm not. But they have a quarterback that I know pretty well. Tate Martell went to Bishop Gorman, so this is a homecoming game for him. He is starting for UNLV. He went to Ohio State. He transferred when he got passed up after Dwayne Haskins moved on to the NFL. He transferred to Miami. He did not want to hold a clipboard and fight his way into a starting job, and then it transfers in De'Aaron King, a far better quarterback. So now he transfers UNLV. This man has got a cannon of an arm. He knows how to use his legs. I'm not saying UNLV wins the game, but I am saying it's very interesting that there's some human beings out there that would lay 31 points on Fresno State. Fresno State is coming off of a game against UCLA that also inflated this number for us. So I'm taking a good hard look at UNLV and those points tomorrow night because I think Tate Martell is gonna give us something exciting.
Yeah, I would imagine part of the Fresno State glamour is how they played against Oregon, and Oregon came back to tear them up. And so what they think is, well, Fresno State must be a really good team. And we knew Fresno State's a good team. They're a good team. They're always well coached. They don't beat themselves, and I see them because I'm an Aztec, so I see them all the time. They're a good football team. But, yeah, you don't see Mountain West 31-point games very often.
And UNLV has played good opponents. UNLV has played Arizona State. They played Eastern Washington. They're coming off of a loss to Iowa State that most teams would get smoked by Iowa State. So, the more I talk about it, I'm kind of selling it to myself at this point. But I am looking at that for tomorrow night.
Yeah, and before the game, you can do that. During the game, you got to react to what you're seeing during the game, So Carolina got the ball back, John.
Yeah, Panthers got a nice little drive going here. Christian McCaffrey had a couple of nice runs. They got helped by a penalty, too. So
Nothing wrong with that. All right, so here's where we're at. I've got some notes I'm going to go through. Carolina team total over. You know what? I was supposed to bet that. I don't think I did. So while I'm talking to you guys and kind of going through what I'm looking at, it's going to get to the first quarter. They're not going to score before the first quarter's out, are they, John?
No, So yeah, no, it looks like this first quarter is winding down here. So I don't think they're going to score before the first quarter.
Yeah, I haven't had many opportunities to bet this game in live action. I don't know what they're doing. I like Buffalo. I like the Indy team total over. You talked about that, I think, a little bit. Wes, didn't you talk about that Indy team? I think so. I like the Baltimore team total over. I like over Chicago, Cleveland. I like under New Orleans, New England. I got the over in that Miami Vegas game only because, like I said, I look at Vegas and all the games go over.
Yeah.
I got the Green Bay, and I got under in Philly, Dallas, because I've got that on the contest. Dallas 20, Philly 17. So those are kind of my plays. Before we actually, you probably should turn, if you're going to stay tuned to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, you probably should turn down your speakers or watch out for your ears, because your ears are sensitive, because the loudmouths are coming after us. And literally, last week I was listening to the show, and Vicky walks in and says, "Who's that yelling?" I said, "It's the loudmouths. They follow us, the loudmouths on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network." And she says to me, "Oh, okay." And then she comes back a few minutes later and she goes, "Could you turn those guys down?" Because I have my speakers. So before we go, again, it's Blackhawk Wes. You could catch him on all the spots that he talks to you about, and he's at 151 Sports Investing. But really, if you get a chance to go to Discord, check out the Chicago thing that he's got going, and we'll put it in the social media because it really is pretty cool. Of course, you know John from GMF Sports winning contest and doing his thing in the circle. I am second half Chaz, and always be cashing.